You need to ask your children, you need to ask yourself, you need to ask your spouse, are you just showing up and completing the race, or are you showing up to win and you're truly giving it your all? Because if you're not, and if you're just showing up to complete the race, well, thank you for participating. Here's your trophy. Welcome to Empowered Homefront Podcast, where we talk about health, wealth, and relationships. And let's not forget about the most important one, and that is faith. Because I believe that we all have been lied to, and we're going to skill stack our way all the way to success and bring you on the journey with us. Today's episode, I've got something just a little bit painful as a father. And I'm going to be very vulnerable with you about an experience that I just had this weekend with my son. And I don't know how to say this, guys, but it's probably going to make a few people mad, and it's probably going to make a few people proud. And those people who are in between, well, they're just going to continue to be confused. So let's go ahead and jump into it. And what it is when in the heck did winning become not important? When in our society is it okay not to win? Why is that not talked about as much as and before I say this, I've been in multiple situations: military, Federal Aviation Administration, contracting, construction, whatever you want to call. Like, I've been in a lot of different places, a lot of different fields, and it's always the same old story. Well, back in my day, it was so much harder and so much more difficult. If you had to do it in my day, it was just all different. And I'm like, dude, get real. All right. So before I say this, that's not what I'm saying, but I don't think it's harder back in my day. Listen, I'm 35. When I grew up, like, I'm a millennial, all right? There's a lot of bad things said about millennials, but there's a lot of good things said about millennials. And we're one of those dominating generations because we're so large, but then also we were the generations that were told to go to college, do good in school. Like, education is so important, and we bought into the agenda, right? And I remember receiving a participation trophy and being really confused why those other kids who didn't place as high as I did got the same trophy that I got. I remember why those other kids who didn't go outside and train every day or every other day, or have a bucket that up against a tree where they're pitching the ball into the tree every day so they can, pitch better. They didn't start, they didn't play. Why they still got a trophy? I remember being confused. And I also remember my parents and, friends and family, telling me, well, we don't want them to feel left out. It's like, okay. Right. But now, my friend, I've got kids of my own, and I do not participate in participation trophies. Okay. And my son is in gymnastics. I got 2 boys, 1 girl, and we're going to talk about Tyler today. And he just made it to regionals in gymnastics. All right. So that means that he done really well in his area, went to state, he placed in state, and then he went to regionals. And we had to travel to Georgia. We're in North Carolina. We had to travel to Georgia for the competition. And, it was a big ordeal. Like, it was really cool. My son is so good at gymnastics that he went to regionals. Did everybody in the I never took gymnastics, and it confuses me. It's really complicated as far as like what all their levels are and everything else. But anyway, like, his little area, like, it was only top 8, all right, that went to regionals. And, he made top 8. Like, I think he came in like 5th. Now that was pretty cool, right? That is pretty cool. Like, my son did really good. He beat a lot of people, and winning is not praised anymore. We got him in baseball. We got him in football. Hockey, dude, like, we put him in wrestling a little bit, but he's consistent in gymnastics all the time. And, there's 2 sports. I never took wrestling and I never took gymnastics, but those 2 sports right there, I believe they create the best foundation possible to have a successful life as a kid, because of all the characteristics that they definitely like just beat into you naturally, organically. And, it's discipline. But gymnastics compared to wrestling, there's no me and you, we're about to go head to head, nose to nose, and one of us is going to come out a loser. The other one's going to be a winner. All right. In wrestling, that happens. In gymnastics, not so much, right? You train. I mean, dude's training, 4 or 5 times a week for 3.5 hours a day. And, he's putting in the work, right? He comes home and he trains a little bit here. We keep preaching like, hey, if you want to be better than the other guy, like, you got to work a little harder. All right. Not a little harder, a lot harder, right? If you want to improve this skill, then you need to come home and you need to put in some reps, right? And we keep preaching this. And then we make it to regionals. And man, I had to have one of the hardest conversations I've ever had with my son. And it broke my heart. Oh my gosh, did it break my heart. But it had to be said. Coaches, baseball. Last season, I coached both of my sons' baseball team. I wasn't the head coach. I don't have enough time to be the head coach, but I was, one of those dads that showed up and assisted the coach. And dude, I had a blast. Like, it was amazing. I always wanted to be able to do that. And, through real estate and building a portfolio and everything, I was able to walk away from the W-2 that didn't allow me to do that. And dude, I got to coach my, son's baseball team. Like, it's amazing. I would have never been able to do that if I didn't walk away from my W-2. Reason I share that is because also I got to experience being on a team of group of boys, good group of boys, man, good group of boys. I mean, we had 1 or 2 like outliers that need a little act right, but for the most part, man, good kids. And dude, we lost every freaking game. We lost all the games. And then it was the last game of the season, and me being me, like, I don't lead unless I have to lead. And when I lead, like, I am all in. So I had no clue how this baseball league operated, right? Like, I'm not going to show up and be a backseat coach or backseat whatever, cheerleader, whatever you want to call it. Like, I'm just not going to do it. Like, I'm going to show up. I'm going to spend time with the boys. I'm going to make sure that, they work on their fundamentals. And, we're going to play some baseball, right? And, man, it was the last game of the season. And all of a sudden, I thought we showed up and we played 1 game and we was done. Nope. Never won a game. Didn't win a single game. But we won that first game that day. And it was like group of like 6 teams, and we ended up coming in second. Okay. So this team who hasn't won a game all season went out, worked, played. And the very last day, we played back-to-back games and came in second overall. I thought that was really cool. I mean, to see these boys' faces, like whenever they won, dude, I was excited. All the boys was excited, and dude, I had tears in my eyes, and the boys had tears in their eyes because we knew we worked hard, right? And we came in second. But it was cool how that organization structured that, because this is a young group of boys. We're talking about, 7, 8, and 9-year-olds. And they improve a lot, right? These boys are learning the fundamentals of baseball. All right. They're learning how to run bases, right? And by running bases, they're learning how to go to first before they go to third. Okay. And it was super cool. I was so excited. No participation trophies, nothing like that. It's just, hey, last game of the season, and winner takes all. And you play till you're eliminated, right? Win-win. I like that. And man, when we came in second, it was something to be proud of. It really was. Now, my son, regionals last weekend, we traveled to Atlanta, and we're out there watching them, and it was a bunch of boys, dude. A lot of boys showed up. His team came in third and fourth, his teammates. Now, at state, he placed, I think he placed fifth in state. And I always tell him, I'm like, son, it don't even count unless you're first or second, right? Like third's just a watcher, like second, I mean, you can battle it out for first, but son, it doesn't count unless you came in first or second. So that boy always reaches for first or second place, and he rarely hits them. I mean, there's this thing about talent, right? Like, I don't know what it is, but as far as me, I've never been the most talented kid. I've never been the most talented or skilled person anywhere, but I will outwork you any day of the week. I promise you that. And if you don't show up to play, I'm going to win. But I don't have talent, right? And, I watch my kids, and I never said it to them, but at the same time, like, they're not the most talented kids out there, right? And parents, if you got kids of your own, you know if your offspring just isn't that talented. Be honest with yourself. And Tyler works really hard. He really does. But he's got more. He's got more that he could put in to training, and he's got more that he could step up and level up his game. Now, every competition, there's 3 boys. And there's Murray, Pierce, and Tyler. And Murray, dude, this kid, he's talented. He's quiet, and he shows up, and he just does his thing, and he's just all smooth. And, it's just like, goodness gracious, right? Like, the kid's got a little talent. And then there's Pierce, man. Pierce, he goofs off, and him and Tyler goes back and forth. They're having fun, and doing their things. And, him and Tyler go back and forth, like, Pierce would take third, Tyler would take fourth. Pierce would take second, Tyler would take third. Or Tyler would take second, Pierce would take third. They just battle it back and forth. Guess who's always winning? Murray. All right, Murray's always beating both of those boys. They're never, ever battling. All right, never battling. Murray's always one place above whoever is flip-flopping between Tyler and Pierce. That's the way it's been the whole season. All right, even state. And then we get to regionals. Well, Murray and Pierce, they take third and fourth. Tyler takes 10th. And afterwards, And I watch too, like, we record it. And the last thing I want to be, man, is that dad who goes out there and tries to live his childhood through his son. That's the last dad I want to be. I remember seeing those dads who showed up to football games and baseball games whenever their boy made a mistake. Like, they came over the fence and was yelling at their boys and just embarrassing them, and they were just living out their childhood through their son. I do not want to be that dad, and I am not that dad. And those dads, y'all need a butt whooping. All right, y'all do. Y'all need a butt whooping. But, Tyler, dude, he came in 10th, and man, he comes out and he's disappointed, but it's just over and done with. He's just like, yeah, moves on. And we always ask him the same question every time. Hey, did you do your best? Did you do your best? And his answer is always the same. Yep. Yes, sir. I did my best. And I asked him the same question after regionals. He's like, yep. I didn't place high, but I did my best. And dude, I thought, and I'm just like, man, what am I teaching my son? Am I lying to him? And it hit me. I'm like, man, I'm lying to him. And, I truly believe that if you love someone, then you will tell them the truth, whether it hurts them, makes them mad, or upsets them. If you truly love someone, you're going to have that hard conversation and make that hard call of telling them the truth whenever everybody else is lying to them. Whether that be they got a zit on their face and nobody else is telling them, you're going to walk up to them and say, hey, you need to go to the bathroom and take care of that zit. It looks like you got a giant piece of snow right there on your nose. Right? And people who don't love them, they're just not going to say anything because it feels weird. It's awkward. They're going to let them walk around all day long with that giant snowball right there on their nose, and everybody's going to be staring at it. They're going to be having a conversation with somebody, and they're going to think that everybody's making eye contact with them, but actually they're looking at that giant snowball right there on their nose. But unfortunately, they didn't have anybody around them that loved them enough to say, hey, go to the bathroom and get that thing out of your nose. And man, I asked Tyler, I'm like, hey, did you do your best? He's like, yeah, Daddy, I did. I asked him again. I probably asked him 10 times. And then finally, I'm asking him so much that he's just questioning himself. He's like, why you keep asking me that? I was like, man, so I want to point out a few things to you. It's like Murray and Pierce, they came in 3rd and 4th. I was like, you came in 10th. But you did your best? It's like, yeah, I did my best. I'm like, all right. And then I got a video of a couple of his events, and I show him his event, sitting there holding it up to him, and he's watching it. And, it is obvious. It is so blatantly obvious that this is not this kid's best. All right. It's literally his worst. All right. Like, he doesn't do this bad during practice. All right, he's all wobbly and all over the place, and he's doing his flips and landing on one foot, and his feet aren't together, and we watch the video, and I'm like, son, is this really your best? And he's like, yeah, Daddy, and he starts crying. And man, it hit me, and I'm just like, let's go. Man, it hit me hard. I'm like, son, that's not your best. And I was like, I'm going to tell you. I was like, because I love you. And I was like, I don't care what you say. I was like, the facts are that you, Murray, and Pierce are always battling. But today, you didn't show up. Today, you did not go out there and do your best. And I was like, I want you to look at that video again and tell me if that was your best. And he watches it again. He's like, and now he's really crying, dude. I'm over here, not trying to cry. And dude, it hurts. It does. It hurts having a hard conversation like this because as a father, you're breaking your son's heart. Trying not to be a little girl. But it's hard, man. And that's the whole point of this talk is because, I'm telling my son he didn't do his best. And I'm making him admit it. And I tell him, like, son, you can go out there and whenever you're done and somebody asks you, did you do your best? You can say yes. But if you did it or not. And if you just get in this routine of every time somebody asks you if you did your best and you never did not do your best, even though the numbers, the video, the tape shows differently, you're lying. And worst, you're lying to yourself. It's not that you're lying to someone else. It's that you're lying to yourself. And fathers, mothers, how many times do y'all lie to yourself? Oh, I love my kid. I would do anything for my kid. Except tell them the truth because it hurts me. I love my wife. I love my husband. I'll do anything for them except tell them the truth because it's hard. And I'm sitting there and I'm explaining to Tyler, I'm like, look, man, I was like, you went out there, you competed. It's like, but there's a very big difference in competing to win and just showing up. You showed up. You signed in. You put on your uniform. But did you compete? Did you actually compete to win? And then it hit me. My son's 9 years old and I don't talk to him about winning. I'll tell him I'm winning. I'll give him his run for his money in anything we play. And I'll tell him that I'm winning. And I'll tell him that there's not anybody out there that can beat me because I'll never quit. I'll tell him that. And I thought that was enough. I thought setting the example was enough. But then I had to ask myself, Eric, do you set the example? Are you showing your son how to truly win? I mean, look at you. You're out of shape. Your cheeks look like a chipmunk. You need to eat better. You need to get out and work out more. You work all the time. You provide for your family, sure. You're winning in areas of your life, but are you really winning? And I had to ask myself that hard conversation. I had to ask that hard question, and I had to have it with myself. And the answer is no. So I got to do better. That's step one. I got to do better. And it's not good enough just to tell your son or tell your daughter, oh, you went out there and did your best. Good job. It doesn't count. Whenever they get out here in the real world, no one cares if they did their best. No one cares if they showed up. No one cares if they signed in. No matter how much society will lie to you and tell you that nobody cares, that you can get a participation trophy and all this other BS, only thing people care about is who won. I don't watch sports at all, but everybody watches the Super Bowl. I even watch the Super Bowl every once in a while. I haven't in the last 2 years, but if I watch any football game, it's the Super Bowl. Who's the best of the best? That's what people care about. And realizing that I'm instilling values into my son and into my sons, into my daughter and my wife and myself. And I am letting society brush over and make things less important, like winning. Winning is important. Let's go ahead and acknowledge that. And if you, my friend, do not think winning is important, then please stop listening, stop following, stop getting all the free information that I'm giving and everybody else is giving out there, and just continue to play video games and eat bonbons. I don't even know what a bonbon is, by the way. Like, is that like a Twinkie or something? But like, seriously, if you don't care anything about winning, why are you even showing up here? Everybody cares about winning. Everybody. And, to tell our kids, oh, you did your best. Did they show up and just complete the race? Or did they actually do their best? That's the question. If this 30-minute podcast, if you don't hear anything else, I want you to hear this. You need to ask your children, you need to ask yourself, you need to ask your spouse, are you just showing up and completing the race, or are you showing up to win and you're truly giving it your all? Because if you're not, and if you're just showing up to complete the race, well, thank you for participating. Here's your trophy. No one cares if you just show up to participate. Good job. People only care about winning, and it takes fortitude to win. It takes effort beyond all of the competition to win. Talent will beat everybody who just shows up. But having hard work will beat talent when talent doesn't work. And if you got a little bit of talent and you add effort, that equals extraordinary. That equals success. That equals first place. That equals bringing home the bacon. All right. And you don't have to have talent, because most talent don't show up. And for all you parents out there who's listening to this, I want y'all to think about that. Right now, we live in a day and age where kids are watching their iPad more times than they are actually looking out into the trees, into the sky, out into the yard, playing with sticks. They're looking at their iPad. Are they learning anything? Absolutely not. They're consuming. They're sitting there playing a game. They're playing whatever roadblocks, and they're learning how to take their finger and move it over here and then go over here and pick up this and do this. That's what they're learning. They're spending all their time doing that. Let everybody else teach their kids those things, because you'll never be able to stop it. You'll never be able to slow it down. It's going to happen. But what you can do is you can help your child. You can help your family get ahead by putting down your foot and having the hard conversation of, hey, team, are we showing up to win, or are we just showing up? Are you showing up to actually win, or are you just showing up to cross the finish line? And if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I just showed up and I don't even care if I cross the finish line, Dude, I know that's not you because you wouldn't be listening to this if it was you. Or you want to win. Empowered home front. It literally means winning as a family. Empowered home front. We're winning as a family. And winning is important. Man, we got to start talking more to our children about winning. We got to start talking more about dominating the field. Let's bring back, what it feels like to show up in a competitive nature. This literally just happened this weekend too, because all this like really hit me hard. And dude, I'm ripping through my family. I'm ripping through them. I'm like, what can I change? What can I fix? Show me the issues. And you know what I realized? Man, I've been letting my kids watch the wrong cartoons. My son Jackson, who's 7, we don't support Disney at all, right? And it's so painful, dude. Like, dude, I love Disney. I love Walt Disney, the man, and what the man actually created. But what we got nowadays, dude, tell me you don't have an agenda. Tell me you're not trying to infiltrate the American family without telling me you're trying to infiltrate the American family and make children confused. And dude, I'm starting to realize and see all these things, and so anyway, we don't support Disney, man. But same time, it took me several conversations, several things to point out to Lori in order for her to cancel Disney. All right. In order for her to cancel Disney. And, because she'll look at it as perspectives. She's like, hey, we'll just not let them watch those cartoons. You don't know what your kids are watching. They don't know. If they see something interesting, they're going to click on it. And I started realizing that all these cartoons that my kids have been watching are very much generic. They're very not the winning type. All right. And, Jackson was watching Bluey, and, it's this blue dog and this other dog. And, I'm watching it, and he's been watching it. And Bluey, from what I hear, decent cartoon, right? They're not trying to confuse the sexuality of a 7-year-old like some of these other cartoons. But at the same time, they're also not creating a winning mentality. They're also not creating this dominant mentality. And if you don't believe in winning and you want to just sit back and, just let life ride by you and go, it's fine. But seriously, though, do you want that for your kids? Give them the tools and the resources and the ideology at a young age so they can go out and whenever they see this stuff, they're not confused because they had good foundation. And that's the reason I just started making my boys watch Dragon Ball Z again. Dude, I love Dragon Ball Z. Absolutely loved it as a kid. I never got to watch it as a kid. Instead, I had to go over a friend's house. And he watched it all the time, and that's where I watched it. And I was like, Dragon Ball Z, like, come on. Dude, love some Dragon Ball Z. But anyway, at first, Jackson's like, Daddy, I don't like this. I'm like, dude, just give it a little bit. And he gave it a little bit. And then, we're sitting down. We're starting to watch it more together. And this is what I realized, dude. Dragon Ball Z, foreign cartoon, right? Japanese. And I believe, don't quote me on that, but definitely not American. One of the very first episodes, I'm talking about like first 3 or 4, the little bitty kid who's like 2 foot tall gets dropped off in the middle of nowhere. And this green guy named Piccolo tells him, you depend too much on other people to save you. You're going to stay out here and you're going to figure out how to save yourself. You're going to figure out how to trust yourself. And this little kid, he's crying. He's throwing a fit. He's running around. You know, he sees a lizard. He chases the lizard. He's like, hey, friend. There's nobody for miles. The kid's all out there by himself. Then he finds this cave and he finds a robot in it. And he turns the robot on. And then the robot's telling him the exact same thing. You can do this. You don't need anybody to show up and save you. And some things happen, and like the cave starts falling in. The robot wakes up and saves the little kid, and then throws the kid out the cave while the cave falls down on the robot and destroys the robot. And the kid's crying. And anyway, you kind of see this evolution of trust of this kid. This kid was struggling to get down on top of this mountain, but when the robot got crushed and was laying at the bottom of the mountain, all of a sudden, the kid was jumping from rock to rock to get down. And that's what we do as parents. We don't shield our children. We educate our children and give them the ammunition so they can show up and they can win. You know, as I was growing up, all I heard was this helicopter parent thing. And then I just heard a couple of weeks ago about this lawnmower parent. And I don't get into all that jumbo blah, blah. But, you know, the lawnmower parent cracked me up because like they mow over all the kids' problems. I was like, that's a good definition of it. And whenever we don't step up and tell our children that they didn't do their best, no matter how much they want to believe that, that's not their best. Because you don't want your children to settle. You don't want them to just show up and complete the race. Do you? Ask yourself, do you? Do you want your child or your loved one to just show up and complete the race? Wives, do you want your man just to show up and get a paycheck? Husbands, do you want your wife just to show up and get a paycheck, or just show up and do the bare minimum at the household, right? Whatever your living situation is, do you want your spouse just to show up? Or do you want them to show up to win? Because whether you like it or not, they are your teammates. They're your teammate in life. And if they just show up and you're trying to play the game of life to win, my friend, you are going to have an issue. And I can relate. Me and Lori's been together for like 18 years. I think 19 now, but it took us a long time to start realizing that the messages that we see to our left and right aren't the ones we need to be seeing, aren't the ones that we need to be hearing. And that's what Empowered Homefront's about. And that's what you, being an empowering parent, needs to be about. Maybe your kid listening to this. Maybe he's an empowering adventurist. Maybe he's an empowering explorer. Or her. You know, I'm going to go ahead and close this out, but that was a hard conversation that I had with my son. I knew I was hurting him. I knew it. It hurt me too. He was crying. He was asking me, Daddy, why are you always so hard on me? Why do you have to tell me these things? Why can't you just be happy for me, Daddy? Dude, it broke my heart. And I told him, because I love you. And I'll never tell you you did a good job when you did not. Winning is winning and losing is losing. Losers lose, winners win, period. And it is important to win. Now, I said all this, but let's be real. There can only be one winner. There are times where your best just isn't going to be good enough. And when your best is not good enough, that's when you ask the question, did you do your best? Gave it all I had. That's all you can ask for. That's when that is true. But over time, somehow that message got really confusing and it turned into just show up. Just show up and complete the race. It's not your best. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you found value in this episode, please like and share and get us out there where we can help other American families. We're on a mission. We're on a mission to uncover a lot of life lessons that I wish I would have been taught at an earlier age. And I wish my family, I wish my friends, I wish all these other people that I look up to would have documented their journey. And that's what we're doing. So share this episode with somebody who you know will find value in it. And God bless.